Which brokerage do you think can survive these next 1 to 3 years where you got to steal somebody else's lunch?
Joining us now is Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman. Glenn, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we know these high mortgage rates are wreaking havoc on the housing market. They're a disaster. How big of a disaster is it right now?
Well, it's been a slow building disaster, so I don't think it feels more apocalyptic now than it did 4 months ago. The housing market is just taking a beating because affordability is at a 4-decade low. And so at some point, we just need to catch a break from the Federal Reserve, and that doesn't seem likely to happen in 2023.
Is it having the desired effect on prices, on rents, given it's also coming up against this backdrop of super low inventories?
That is the problem. So it has certainly depressed employment in the real estate sector, but it hasn't hurt prices. Prices keep going up. Usually in a downturn like 2008, people don't want to sell, but they have to sell because foreclosure is imminent. In this case, we have had a soft landing. The rest of the economy is doing well. People are not in dire economic straits. And with a 3% mortgage, there's no way they're going to put that house on the market. So we've had a downturn in sales volume, but an upturn in prices. And that means that the sales volume crimp is just going to last a long, long time.
Yeah, we've had some in the realty business suggest that ongoing demographic trends, marriages, having kids, going to college, even dying, means that the industry will churn through some of these rate levels, which, of course, we coexisted with a couple decades ago. I wonder if you think that's too Goldilocks.
No, I mean, if you look at the number of existing home sales in the United States, it goes between 4 and 6 million. During the pandemic, it actually went to a 6.5 million annualized rate, nearly 7, but it's never gone below 4 since we've been tracking it, and the population is about 10% larger than the last time we hit that low, which was in 2008. So we are now at the most basic level of Maslow's hierarchy, where shelter is a human need. The only people who are moving are the ones who absolutely have to, and there are people who are relocating because they're being called back to work, or they get a divorce, or there's a death in the family. So those are the only reasons that people are moving. I wouldn't call that a Goldilocks scenario. I would call that rock bottom. But that's where we are right now. And the only relief is that it can't go much lower. We haven't seen 3.7 million homes sold across the United States since we've been tracking the number. 4 is about as low as it can go.
So then, Glenn, how are you thinking about and planning your business around 2024? Is it a recovery year for real estate? Are you making moves in anticipation around hiring agents or more downbeat?
Do you remember when Rambo is asked, Rambo, how will you live? And he says, day by day. That's how we're planning this business.
Okay.
We can't look 3, 6, 9 months out. What we face right now is 7.5% mortgages, 4 million annualized home sales rate. We're living in the now. And if things get better, that'll all be upside in the business.
How is your business dealing with the changing rate environment? Can you be profitable? Can you make money in a down market like this?
We can. We just have to reduce our costs. And so what we've done is cut non-core businesses, laid off some people, which I still feel ashamed about. But it's put us in a position where as we take market share, we can build a profitable business. But there's no free lunch here. We have to take someone else's lunch to be able to grow because we are in a shrinking market and we feel poised to take significant share over the next 6 to 9 months.
Talked about 4 million sales in the United States as the low number. They've never dropped below 4 million sales. And that was in 2008, the previous really challenging market when we had the credit crunch crisis. And then, of course, we ballooned into that 6.5 million sales through COVID, which everybody was buying, free money and so forth. But rates have jumped up so significantly now that people are not putting their homes in the market, so inventory is very low. But it's also causing people not to make the move because of the high rates. And then he went on to say that there's no free lunch. How are we going to make money in this marketplace? And I think every brokerage whether it's Redfin, Remax, Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway, they're all looking at how do we make money, because going from 6.5 million sales to 4 million, significant shrink in sales, and then how do you replace all of those sales, because every sale is a piece of income. And now you've reduced the volume of sales by 40-ish%. And most businesses run off the top 10 or 15%. So everybody is struggling. And he says there's no free lunch. In order for us to survive, and I think this is for any brokerage, for us to survive, we have to take somebody else's lunch. Think about that. You're all hungry and there's only 3 or 4 lunches in the lunchroom and there's 50 people. Who is going to steal the next person's bag of lunch so they can eat? And I think it's a really great question about brokerages. Which brokerage do you think can survive these next, I'm going to say 1 to 3 years, where you got to steal somebody else's lunch? Ask yourself that question. Look at the dynamics of each brokerage, look at the dynamics of how they run, the scalability of them, and ask, who do you think has the lunch today and who can keep their lunch and make it an amazing space for their agents? I have the answer. DM me and I'll tell you who I think that brokerage is that has the lunch and will continue to have the lunch for its agents. Subscribe below to learn more about all things real estate, Randy's relevant news, Return on Life podcast, or anything that you would like to learn more about real estate. Subscribe below, DM me.